Hey everyone! Welcome! Today, we're going to look at a really cool and simple way to print a right-angled triangle star pattern in Python. Now, if you've looked at other programming languages, you might think we need multiple loops inside each other to do this. But Python has a neat little trick called string multiplication that lets us build this triangle row by row with just a few lines of code. Let's break it down line by line. First up, we have the number rows equals 5. Here, we are creating a variable named rows and assigning it 5. This simply tells our program how tall we want our triangle to be. If you want a bigger triangle, say 10 rows high, you just change this number to 10. It's our control. Switch for the size. Next, we start we use for loop. You can think of a loop as a machine that repeats an action. For I in range, 1 rows plus 1. The range function here tells the loop where to start counting and where to stop. We want it to start at 1. But why did we write rows plus 1 instead of just stops just before the final number? Since our rows? Well, in Python, the rows variable will count from 1 up to but not including 6. That means it counts range function 5 rows plus 1 equals 6. So, Python 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each time the loop runs, the current number gets stored in our temporary variable. The first turn, I is 1, on the second turn, I is 2, and so on. Finally, we have the star of the show, literally. Inside the loop, notice how this line is pushed in or indented. This tells Python that this action belongs inside the loop. We write print ***I. In Python, if you multiply a string like this * text, a number, Python doesn't get confused. It actually repeats that text that many times. Let's track how it plays out turn by turn. On the first turn, I is. On the second turn, 1. So it prints I becomes * times 1, which gives us 1 star. 2. It prints on the third turn, I is * times 2, giving us 2 stars. 3, so we get 3 stars. ****. This keeps going automatically until the loop finishes the 5th row. Python Beginner Series voiceover script. ******. By a number, Python doesn't get confused. It actually repeats that text that many times. Let's track how it plays out turn by turn. On the first turn, I is. On the second turn, 1. So it prints I becomes * times 1, which gives us 1 star. 2. It prints on the third turn, I is * times 2, giving us 2 stars. 3, so we get 3 stars. *****. This keeps going automatically until the loop finishes the 5th row. And there you have it. When you run the code, these rows print out sequentially on your screen, forming a perfect right-angled triangle. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's a great example of how Python lets you do more with less code. Try changing the rows variable to a different number on your own computer and see what happens. Happy coding, and see you in the next one. Hey everyone! Today, we're going to look at a really cool, short Python program that prints an inverted right-angled triangle of stars. If you're new to programming, don't worry, loops and ranges can feel a bit tricky at first, but we are going to break this down line by line so you can see exactly how it works. Let's dive in. First up, we see a line starting with a hashtag or $sign. In Python, this is called a comment. The computer completely ignores this line when running the program. It's just a helpful Note left by the programmer to explain what the code below is supposed to do. In this case, it tells us we are making an inverted triangle pattern. Next, we have rows equals 5. Here, we are creating a variable named rows and assigning it the value of 5. Think of a variable like a labeled box. We just labeled a box rows and dropped the number 5 inside it. This tells our program that our triangle will be 5 rows tall. Now, this is where the magic happens. This line sets up a for loop, which tells the computer to repeat an action. It uses Python's range function, which takes 3 ingredients: a start, a stop, and a step. Let's look at those ingredients. Our start is rows, which we already know is 5. So, we start counting at 5. Our stop is 0. But remember, Python never includes the stop number. It stops exactly 1 step short. Since we are counting down, it will stop at 1. Our step is -1. This tells the computer to count backward by 1 each time. So, on the very first round of the loop, the variable I is given the value of 5. On the next round, I becomes 4. Then 3. Then 2. And finally 1. Finally, we are inside the loop with the print statement. Notice how it's indented? That means it belongs to the loop and will happen on every single turn. Inside the print statement, we see something unusual, ***I. In regular math, you can't multiply a word by a number, but in Python, you can. Multiplying a string of text by a number simply repeats that text. Let's track it visually as the loop runs. On round 1, I is 5. So it prints 5 stars on the first row. On round 2, I drops to 4. Printing for stars. Then I becomes 3. Printing 3 stars. Next, I is 2. Printing 2 stars. And on the final round, I is 1. Because the loop ran backward from 5 down to 1, your output forms a perfect upside down triangle on your screen. And just like that, you've mastered backward counting loops in Python. Keep experimenting, change the number of rows, and see what happens. Happy coding. Printing just 1 single star. Hey everyone! Today, we're going to look at how to build a number pyramid pattern in Python. Before we jump into the code, let's look at what we want to achieve. We want to print numbers in a triangle shape, starting with just 1 on the first row, 1, 2 on the second row, and so on, up to 5. To do this, we need a nested loop, which is just a fancy way of saying a loop inside another loop. Let's break it down line by line. First, we create a variable named rows and set it equal to 5. This is our control switch. It tells the program exactly how many lines tall our pyramid is going to be. If you wanted a massive pyramid of 10 rows, you just change this 5 to a 10. Next, we start our first loop, which we call the outer loop. Think of this loop as the row manager. Its only job is to move us from the top row down to the bottom row. We use the range 1 rows plus 1 function here. Because our rows variable is 5, rows plus 1 means 6. In Python, the range function stops just before the final number. So, range 1, 6 will count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The variable thing keeps track of which row we are currently standing on. On the first round, I is 1, on the second round, I is 2, and so on. Now, notice how this next line is indented? That means it sits inside our outer loop. This is the inner loop, and you can think of it as the number printer. Its job is to decide what actually gets printed across a single row. Notice its range 1, I plus 1. It depends entirely on our current row number. If we are on row I equals 1, this loop runs from 1 to 2, which means it only runs once for the number 1. If we are on row I equals 3, this loop runs from 1 to 4, which means it runs 3 times for 1, 2, and 3. The variables j holds the actual number we are about to print. Inside the inner loop, we have our print statement. We tell Python to print j, which is the current number our inner loop is counting. Normally, when Python prints something, it automatically jumps to a brand new line right after. But we don't want that yet. We want the numbers in the same row to sit side by side. So, we add comma, end equals, followed by an empty space string. This tells Python, hey, after printing the number, just leave a little blank space instead of jumping to a new line. Finally, look closely at the indentation of this last line. It is aligned with the inner loop, meaning it only runs after the inner loop completely finishes printing all the numbers for that row. This is a completely empty print function. Because it doesn't have the end argument, its only job is to force the computer cursor to drop down to the next line. This ensures that the next row's numbers don't bunch up on the same line. Once it drops down, the outer loop kicks back in, increments I by 1, and the whole process repeats until all 5 rows are beautifully printed. And that's it. By pairing a row manager loop with a number printer loop, you get a perfect number pyramid. Run this code in your editor, try changing the rows variable to 3 or 8, and see how the computer adapts. Happy coding! Hey everyone! Welcome! Today, we are going to look at how to build an equilateral triangle pyramid using Python. If you've ever wondered how programmers control spacing and shapes on a screen, this is the perfect place to start. Let's break it down line by line. First, we look at line number 1, rows equals 5. Think of rows as a labeled box A variable, where we store the number 5. This tells our program exactly how tall we want our pyramid to be. If you want a massive pyramid, you could change this to 10 or 20, but for now, we'll keep it at 5. Next up is line 2, which starts our loop, for I in range 1, rows plus 1. A for loop is just a way to tell Python to repeat an action. Here, I is our counter, and it represents the current row number we are building. The range e1 rows plus 1 function tells Python where to start counting and where to stop. Because our rows variable is 5 rows plus 1 equals 6. In Python, the range function stops just before the final number. So, this loop will count from 1 to 5. This means our loop will run exactly 5 times, building our pyramid row by row. From top to bottom. Line 3 starts with a hashtag symbol. In Python, this is a comment. The computer completely ignores this line, it's just a helpful note left by the programmer to explain the logic. It tells us that the next line is going to calculate the spaces and stars needed for each row. Now, let's look at the final line, which does all the heavy lifting. Don't let the math scare you, it's actually very clever. We are using the print function to display things on the screen. Inside it, we are combining 2 parts using the plus sign. Let's break down the first part, asterisk, rows I. This takes a single blank space string and multiplies it by rows I. Yes, in Python, you can multiply text by a number to repeat it. On row 1, where I is 1, it calculates 5 to 1, giving us 4 spaces. On row 2, it calculates 5 to 2, giving us 3 spaces. Notice how the spaces decrease as we go down? That pushes the stars into a neat pyramid shape. Now, let's look at the second part, asterisk asterisk, 2 asterisk I, 1. This calculates how many stars to print using an odd number formula, 2I, 1. On row 1, open parenthesis 2 times 1 close parenthesis minus 1 equals 1 star. On row 2, open parenthesis 2 times 2 close parenthesis minus 1 equals 3 stars. On row 3, open parenthesis 2 times 3 close parenthesis minus 1 equals 5 stars. When Python glues the spaces and stars together using that plus sign, here is what happens row by row. Row 1, for spaces plus 1 star. Row 2, 3 spaces plus 3 stars. Row 3, 2 spaces plus 5 stars. Row 4, 1 space plus 7 stars. Row 5 o'clock spaces plus 9 stars. And just like that, you get a perfectly centered, beautiful equilateral pyramid on your screen. Thanks for watching. Try changing the rows variable to a different number on your own computer and see what happens. Happy coding! Hey everyone! Welcome back. Today, we are going to build a palindrome checker in Python. A palindrome is simply a word, phrase, or number that reads exactly the same way backward as it does forward, like the word radar or the number 121. Python makes checking for this incredibly easy, and we can do it in just a few lines of code. Let's break it down line by line. Alright, looking at the code, line 1 is just a comment. Anytime you see a hashtag symbol. In Python, it means Python will completely ignore it. It's just a note for us humans to know what the code does. Now, line 2 is where the action starts. We create a variable called user_input. Think of a variable like a labeled storage box. Inside this box, we are going to store whatever the user types. We get that text by using the input function. When the program runs, it will display the message, enter a number or word on the screen and blink, waiting for you to type something in and hit enter. Line 3 is another helpful comment explaining our secret weapon, this strange-looking syntax: ::1. On line 4, we create a brand new storage box called reversed_input. To fill it, we take our original user_input and attach ::1 to the end of it. In Python, this is called string slicing. Think of it like this: the 2 colons tell Python we want to look at the whole word from start to finish. And the -1 at the end tells Python to step through the word backward, 1 character at a time. So, if the user typed cat, this line instantly flips it into stack and saves it inside reversed_input. Now that we have the original word and the reversed word, we just need to compare them. On line 5, we use an if statement. Notice the double equal sign, In Python, a single equal sign assigns value to a box, but a double equal sign asks a question: are these two things exactly equal? So, Python checks, is user_input exactly identical to reversed_input? If the answer is yes, Python jumps to line 6 and prints our success message. Notice the f right before the quotation mark here? That stands for an f string or formatted string. It allows us to directly inject our user_input variable right into the middle of our text using curly braces. So if you typed race car, it will print, yes, race car is a palindrome. But what if the words don't match? That's where line 7 comes in. The else statement is our backup plan. If the condition is false, Python skips line 6, drops down to line 8, and prints out: no, it is not a palindrome. And that's it. In just 4 lines of actual code, you've built a program that can reverse and check any word or number you throw at it. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe for more beginner-friendly coding tutorials. See you in the next one.
Thank you for watching. Like if you learned something, share with your circle, and subscribe for more.